I read an article about 3 years ago that said every 4 seconds somebody buys a Mills and Boon novel, and I was really shocked to read this because I thought that Mills and Boon was a kind of dying British institution, and that hardly anyone read the books anymore. So I was really intrigued to read this statistic, and at the same time I had come out of a 13-year relationship, so I had a lot of questions about love myself, and when I saw this article I suddenly thought, wow, this could be a very interesting way into looking at questions of love and romance. So that set me off on a 2-year journey into making the film. Also, as the research went on, I realised that these books were popular not just here but all over the world. So I started to research into other countries and ended up going to India and Japan and America to meet readers there and find characters in other places.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, because obviously this is a type of journey that you're taking the spectator, and it's also a journey that you took as a filmmaker on the quest of, you know, finding out why are these things so popular still. And I wonder, you know, at the end of this journey, what did you discover?
I think it really affirmed for me that love is very important, and that fantasy to find someone else to share your life with is something that can be a very beautiful thing, not an easy thing, not easy for us to find and not easy to maintain. You know, it's very difficult to maintain these long-term kind of relationships, but that I really feel that with the British couple I follow and also the Japanese, you really see that love is a real struggle, but if you can go through those ups and downs, it's quite a beautiful thing to have in life. And you know, the Mills and Boon books give the impression that, you know, that it's just finding that person, and then I think one of the characters in the film, Shamita, says real life begins where Mills and Boon ends, and I think it's very true, and the film is exploring what happens at that point when you have met someone and maybe decided to try and go forward in a long-term relationship with them. The book doesn't cover the bit that follows and the tricky ups and downs of trying to maintain a relationship, and I think the process of making the film affirmed to me that was something personally I would still be looking for, and something to celebrate and to quest for in life. You know, so
it's such a important and serious phenomenon, you know, the quest for love. It's a big question. It's something everybody is struggling with, and obviously you give evidence to that in the film. And yet the film is hilarious. It is so funny. So again, I wonder, you know, if you can tell us a bit about that. How did it turn to be a kind of rom-com thing?
I guess I kind of hoped and knew that it had that potential. I think that juxtaposition between our idealism and how perfect we want things to be, and how so often reality just isn't like that, is very ripe for comedy. You know, there's a lot of opportunity in that for comedy. The juxtaposition of two very different ideas.
Let's talk a bit about the filmmaking.
Yes,
kind of documentary. You said that obviously you are a documentary filmmaker. This is your first feature documentary, and you have done though other documentaries shorter before. You worked for television making documentaries. Are they most of the time informed by your personal life? Do you think there's something particular about, you know, being a documentary filmmaker that, you know, enables you to engage with life in that way, or is it very specific to this title?
When I went to film school, the course that I did there was very much encouraging us to think more on a personal level. You know, why are you making this film? What right do you have to make it? What has it got to do with you? And it was, I found that very quite informative in my way of making films. And I feel most inspired when I can find an idea that somehow feels resonant with me at that time of my life.
And do you feel that documentary enables you to do it better than feature film, or is it fiction, I mean, or is it, you know, the very familiar issues of, you know, low budgets, being able to do it by yourself?
Yeah, well, I've never tried fiction filmmaking, and sometimes I think, oh, it would be such a liberation to not have to depend on reality and real people and the limitations of that, you know, of stories not quite happening or going where you want them to, or access being very difficult, or the ethical issues of representing real lives, you know, it can be very, very difficult. And so sometimes I fantasize, if only it was a fiction, it would be so much easier. But then, I mean, I love many fiction films, but so often I feel disappointed that they're not quite as interesting as reality, or they don't, or even when their narratives are quite, or when the storylines are quite exciting, I sometimes feel, oh, but that's not real, you know. Whereas in documentary, all kinds of surprising, amazing things can happen, and if it was written in a fiction script, you wouldn't believe it. But I find that exciting, you know, the unexpected and unusual things, amazing things that can come out of real life. So for now, I'm still very excited about the documentary genre.